And behold, the Black Sword Hack Ultimate Chaos Edition. Old school dark fantasy by the Merry Mushmen. It says a game by Kobayashi. So yeah, this is, you see it's quite thin, but it is extremely meaty, full of stuff. Here's the back right here. Before the rings had a lord, fantasy had other heroes, thieves, gladiators, kings, law, and chaos were battling over human souls. And heroes rose and fell. Build a world, watch it burn. It's got the spine, words going kind of differently than we normally do. We see that sometimes with European type books. So this is a full role-playing game with a lot more stuff in it as well. Obviously, it is based off the Black Hack, and we're going to take a look through it. So join me, will you? Cool piece of art right here. Kind of hate how the face is a little bit messed up with the spine, but I understand what they were going for. It says, "There is no truth but that of eternal struggle." Michael Moorcock, The Weird of the White Wolf. And so this is a very interesting book, and when I read it, I was thinking, wow, this is really all you need. Or if someone said, you know what, I'm just going to play the Black Sword Hack, then I would be like, yeah, go for it. Just play that. That's the only game you really need. Doomed princes, cunning vagabonds, and greedy mercenaries try to prevail in a world torn apart by law and chaos. Those who survive the trials of their humble beginnings may soon find themselves at the center of this struggle. Will they usher the dawn of a new age, give the last push to a world on the brink of oblivion, or simply make the best of a dying world as long as they can? Black Sword Hack is a dark fantasy role-playing game inspired by, but not limited to, the works of Robert E. Howard, Michael Moorcock, Carl Edward Wagner's Kane series, which is very good, by the way, Fritz Lieber's Lankmar, and Jack Vance's Dying Earth books. These inspirations are merely a starting point for the game master. The game gives them the tools to build their own cosmic battlefield, drawing from every source they deem appropriate. So these are great authors and writers. I must admit that I have not read, and of course it's probably a slight on me. I've not read a whole bunch of Fritz Lieber. I tried to read some Jack Vance's Dying Earth, and I think I was standing in a bookstore trying to read it. That might not have been the best place to try to understand what was going on. From a system standpoint, it's a standalone game that uses the Black Hack 2nd Edition rules, which I've talked about before. This means swift action resolution, fast and deadly combat, and a system where players roll the dice 99% of the time. It's player-facing. Let the GM focus on the consequences of the character's actions. So it's very good. It says, characters defined by their origins and not constrained by a class, free to grow in any way they want. You'll also find a sorcery system that will corrupt even the best-intentioned players who think they can use sorcery for good. Again, cool piece of art here. Great piece of, obviously, Elric-inspired art right there. Now, one thing I want to say about this table of contents, which I enjoy, just doesn't say Dark Pacts 32. It tells you Demonic Pacts or Spirit Alliances and gives you those pages numbers as well. I appreciate that. That's very good. And then the rules, very small. If you've looked at the Black Hack, you know that there's not going to be a whole bunch of rules here. And I'm not going to go through the Black Hack's rules again, but one thing I like is this. They've got some examples. I want to do some shopping. I like to do some research. And it kind of breaks down about the turns and how that would be, how long that would take. Same thing as with this, a little bit of what is succeeding at a cost. Stealth, you manage to stay hidden but leave traces of your passage behind. Maybe in study it says you find the information you seek but attract unwanted attention. So that's very good. It talks about critical success and failures. A roll of 1 is a critical success. A roll of 20 is always a critical failure. Whatever the roll, a critical failure means you have to roll your doom die immediately. And we'll talk about the doom die, of course. Threat level, group tests, advantage and disadvantage. Pretty normal to stuff that we know nowadays in more modern games. The usage die. One thing it says here, which I say, okay, that works for me too, is the fact that the usage die is not really used for things that you could actually count, such as resources. Like if you've got a quiver full of arrows, you just count your quiver of arrows and be done. So, not so in the Black Sword Hack. Counting 20 arrows is not rocket science, nor is recording the use of a week's worth of rations. And I agree with that. That's That's not altogether crazy. And talks about usage die, everything we've seen before. Distances, of course, are the same. Perception turns to distances. And then we've got doom. So here is something interesting. Once they decide to go adventuring, the characters bring the attention of law and chaos onto themselves. This is represented by the doom die. Each time a character goes beyond their limits and tempts fate, they must roll the doom die. The forces of law and chaos can and will turn the tide one way or another. So, doom die is a usage die. When it's depleted, the character has brought doom upon themselves. That's not great. So what happens in game turns? Well, the doom die is usually rolled when a character takes the same action twice during a combat turn. I roll before making the test, by the way. Uses a gift that requires it. Gets a critical failure on an attribute test. The doom die returns to its maximum after the character has taken a long rest. So you can just sleep off doom. Players can choose to call on doom. And this is probably where it's used a lot. Roll doom and subtract the result from an attribute test. The doom die is automatically downgraded without rolling. So you're just going to call on doom. You say, I'm in a tough spot here. I need some help with this roll. Boom. No doom die anymore. You can't use actions requiring you roll it. And once the doom die is depleted, the character is considered doomed. All their attribute tests and damage rolls are made with disadvantage until the character can, of course, sleep it off with a long rest. I like the doom mechanic. It's cool. Cool piece of art here. I mean, it's interesting. There's a lot of like forward-facing characters, but it's a good-looking book. See, it's not very big, like I talked about in the beginning, but it's very meaty. We've got our combat section here. In armor, the thing about Black Kayak with armor, it pretty much doesn't have anything about degradation of armor that I could read, which is fine by me, because that just, I think, muddles down a game that's supposed to be quick and fast. Good example here of combat. Pleased for that. Character creation. And this is where this is going to shine. There's a little bit of nudity here and there. No big deal. We're showing a booby or two. And so you've got your attribute tests, and it tells you very easily. This is laid out very, very well. Strength. Roll physical power. Use strength 2. Bash skulls. Parry. Perform feats of brawn. Very easy. You roll up your attributes. We got some characters here. You're going to roll up an origin. These are very important. So you've got a barbarian origin, civilized, and decadent origin. You can roll a d20. Maybe you were born in a slave camp. Maybe you were on the day the king was beheaded by your father, in the biggest mansion of the city's merchant quarter, or maybe in the decadent origin as a vessel for the soul of a dying noble. The ritual failed. Or in the last city of a dying species. Very cool. But backgrounds are very important too. At first I didn't think much of it. Oh, you're going to get a +1. A chieftain gets a plus charisma bonus. Big deal. No, there's more to that than that. So if you see here, it's going to say unique. You see it says unique. You cannot take two back. What's going to happen is you pick 3 backgrounds, 2 tied to your origin, and another one from any list. So if you're picking, you can pick like 2 from barbarian and 1 from civilized. You cannot take 2 backgrounds described as unique, though. So it's cool. Backgrounds raise one of your attributes and have mechanical effects. They can also help define your character's motivations, potential allies, and enemies. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to pick one. Well, Shaman, you have made a pact with 2 spirits. See page 29. Oh, that's interesting. We'll take a look at that here in a second. So it says don't leave without doing all this stuff, languages, starting equipment, stuff like that. Your Doom die starts at a D6. Here's a cool thing on equipment. I like this cost of living thing here. It says at the beginning of each adventure, characters lose a number of coins equal to their con. This represents their daily expenses between 2 adventures. If your character couldn't or wouldn't pay, they can either have taken a job or loan. Roll on one of the tables below. So who lent you the money? What did you do? What job did you accept? It was maybe, a merchant to steal a wanted noble. And maybe that's what you rolled up. That's how that kind of does. Cool art here. Price list, they got stuff in categories, which of course I like. So from D6 coins, D6 times 10 to D6 times 100. Things like a hearty meal for D6 coins, maybe like armor for a lot more, and then a gem or a horse or medium armor for a whole bunch more. Some rules about poisons and drugs. Here's our weapons. Here's our armors and shield. Very easy. Protection is just going to subtract from most damage the character receives in combat. Here's some stuff about experience here. Characters gain a level once they have a number of stories equal to their current level. So that's how you get it. It's not exactly what you do with killing each thing or grabbing each piece of gold, but it's how many stories you have. And you're going to get level and associated benefits, +1 to attribute, up to a maximum of 18, +1 hit points, and then a gift. And you go, oh, here's a gift. It talks about if this is going too slow too. So you get some gifts here. And there's gifts of balance, gifts of chaos, gifts of law. It could be stuff such as replenish a usage die, except Doom, once per session without needing rest. That's pretty cool. Resourceful. Maybe it's second win, regain a number of hit points equal to your level once per day, even in combat. So some cool little kind of feat type things there. And then we go into this great area here, dark pacts and other vileness. It says use responsibly. The game gives you rules for sorcery, demon pacts, spirit alliances, Faerie Ties, and twisted science. This doesn't mean you have to include them all. Choosing only a couple will make your campaign more strongly themed. I agree. Some powers may also be mastered by NPCs only. Sorcery jumps to mind here. And of course, ask your players if they have preferences. So the first thing is demonic pacts. So if you have chosen the warlock background, you have 2 demons at their service. You choose their types opposite. Demons are associated with chaos, but have no trouble serving someone aligned with law or balance. So it's going to tell you how you invoke a demon power. You're going to use your Doom die. It says, roll your Doom die with a disadvantage if it isn't the first time you summoned a demon today. This resets after a long rest. If the Doom usage die is depleted while invoking a demon, roll on the demon's revenge table below. This is bad. Additionally, if the Doom die rolls a 1, there is a side effect detailed in the demon's description, which is here. So the demon revenge might be like the demon steals one of your possessions, the demon destroys a weapon belonging to one of your allies, or the demon pays itself in blood. You lose d6 hit points. One thing about demons is that they're never seen, as they don't need to appear physically to influence their targets. It's very cool. And then it talks about here about creating a new pact. So it is, of course, possible for a character to form a pact with a demon during play. It should always be arduous and the result of a dangerous adventure or quest. And then you've got your different types: abyss, envy, fear, greed, hate. So they're going to be able to do something. They're not extremely powerful. They can be, some of them in a role-playing sense. But like this one, hate. Your target verbally abuses someone of your choosing for d6 minutes. Pretty interesting. But on a roll of 1, like we talked about up here, you shout insults at your target as well. That's going to be a strong role-playing thing right there for that. And then we've got some cool demon names down here. And it says, freeform demonism. GM should be open to players using demon invocation in a more open-ended way, using the above effects as mere guidelines. They should just keep the following principles in mind. Demons reinforce or exacerbate the worst traits of their targets. It's pretty cool. You've got kind of the same thing with spirit alliances. It's characters that they get 2 spirits at their service, and you get to choose from the list below. Again, you're going to call on the spirit very much the same way. There is no negative with the ones, though, but you have different type of spirits that you have here. A shaman can choose to sacrifice its relationship with a spirit to be granted a huge effect, such as creating a firestorm, creating a hurricane, summon a beast lord in the flesh. But unfortunately, the shaman will be shunned by spirits of this type and denied any further alliances, so you have to be good to them. Actually, I was wrong. I can see here you do get a roll of 1 means the shaman is affected at the same time. So like the pain spirit, causing pain that prevents the target from acting for 1 turn is common use of the spirit. And of course, a 1 means that it's going to happen to you too. So I was wrong about that. Here's creating a new pact, kind of the same as before. Here we've got sorcery with all the spell list. And of course, on a critical failure, you're going to roll on the Torn Veil table. You might not be able to cast spells until the next sunrise. You may steal some of your hit points. There could be an arcane explosion, damaging a lot of people, so on and so forth. So here's a lot of the spells. Very easy little ways, things to read here. So that's pretty helpful. Finding and learning new spells. There's a lot of cool tables, and of course that is very good in the OSR. Here's Faerie Ties. If you chose the Changeling background, you're going to have 2 ties with the realms of Faerie, and so that's interesting as well. It's not as detailed as a section as the other ones, but if we look here, Skinwalker, the spells needed to turn into an animal while wearing a special prepared pelt. You can own 2 of these pelts at any time. So then we've got Twisted Science if you've taken the Inventor background. Again, the ways to do it: maintenance. You're going to get a certain amount of points based off your intelligence score at the beginning of each week. And you're going to use those to, in essence, buy, create, and you can see here in brackets, these different Twisted Science marvels. So very cool. And unless they are single-use items, your creations come with a usage die of D6. Roll it after each use or after a fight for weapons, and then it tells you a little bit about creating new objects. So already we've already got a lot of game. Here's some cool rules for runic weapons. Very strong weapons with different powers here. They explain about how unique they should be. They have certain fancy names. What is it made out of? And where could it be found? So there's some great story-driven adventure hooks for a lot of stuff that's in this book. Use the bestiary right here. A lot of great information here, and I like the way it looks. So we've got different sections such as Eaters of the Dead, Vulture, Shaman, or Chief. We've got the Firstborn, Demons, and it's just laid out very easily, as you can see. Not a whole bunch of art in this section, but still pretty cool, such as giant beasts. We've got giant bear, giant boar. It tells you what level they roughly are there, and the different abilities they can do, like a hug or a maul. And so you're able to pack in a lot of good creatures here in a small amount of pages. Cool piece of art right there. Nasty serpent people. Should probably be killed. And then the old what you find on the corpse. So you might be able to find some cool stuff to roll up. There's a lot of, tables to roll up, and those are always good. And then here's a great section, creating your world. And the book could have stopped there before that, but they're going to give you a lot more stuff. And so here's law and chaos in your world. It's going to be, once again, the center of it all is the struggle between the forces of law and chaos, thanks to decades of arguments over the nature and relevance of alignment in fantasy games, or simply the reading of Paul Anderson and Michael Moorcock's books. You know as well as we do that those two don't stand for good and evil. So you're going to roll up a whole bunch of stuff. Is the main antagonist tied to the forces of law? Or is the villain serving chaos? What do law's troops look like? And you can roll up some neat stuff for that. Here's the struggle. And it says, this is neat. It says, take a blank map and note the name of each place as you see fit. So there's different places here, such as the Forbidden City or the Merchant League, Land of the Black Pyramids, and the Dust Empire. Then you can determine the political situation of some of these nations, 5 or 6, and their attitude towards law and chaos by rolling a d6 on these tables. So the political situation might be declining. Their attitude might be favorable to law or favorable to chaos. So you're really creating and shaping your world here. And, of course, on the top of the struggle between law and chaos, the world may suffer from one of the following calamities. What kind of political imbalance will these lead to? So it could be hurricanes or storms. It could be that it kills mostly elders, or it can be a drought that kills mostly men. There's a political event as well, civil war, slave uprising, conquest, religious war. Great stuff. And then each one of those areas have got these little adventure seats, and you can roll with a d6. Interesting map here. I'm not exactly sure how it goes in together with these other pages that have a map, but I do like the way it looks. And so, if you've got mercenary bands, you can roll up a d6. You roll a 2, a new mercenary band made of automatons show up, offering to work cheaply. Where does it come from, and who leads it? Worried mercenary captors want to know. So very interesting, and it's going to have that for each one of those sections that I talked about before. As you can see, that's a good bit here. Lots of good adventure seeds. What about balance? Here's the end game. Your campaign may end with the characters having to side with law or chaos. If that's the case, characters lose all gifts and powers associated with the power they chose to fight. So that's interesting. If characters take different sides, let them duke it out. And your players choose to let kings, queens, and emperors decide the fate of the world, they should still have to deal with the consequences. And then a section on creating your city. And I like this a lot. Name of the city, the people, power, places, and problems. What is the city known for? Again, we've got a D20 list there. Traveler's Tales. It says, use these rules to inspire events during the character's travels. How long was the trip? What happens during the journey? Maybe there was a discovery or pursuit, death or escape. What was the subject of it? And it gives you a good example. Here's some stuff of ships and the sea. So that's very helpful to have that section. Here is Adventure Dark Seeds. This is the Dark Seeds adventure was meant to kickstart your campaign. It gives your players threads to follow as they wish. It also allows your table to set the tone. Will the heroes work for the greater good or out of self-interest? A little bit of a, I would say, map, if you wish, here. The Raiders map showing you where stuff is. And it's not too big at all. Definitely probably a way to start. But I like how it does this. How does it start? What do the characters know? What's outside? What happens next? I always like stuff, because these questions are going to be asked by your players. So it's nice to have those already laid out for you. Then there's another adventure, Slayers of the Blood God. It's a more straightforward affair. It can be played in 2 hours with reasonably proactive players. It says the heroes are sent after a mercenary captain, Rakmor Meliok, to stop him from performing a dangerous ritual. So here we got that. Some cool art. It looks good. Good map. Don't want to spoil too much of that. And then here is Heimdallr, the northernmost port of the land. Heimdallr is subject to cold winds and hot tempers, short days, and long winters. So very cool. You've got a whole thing here giving you a city to play in. And then here's some extra goodies. Some tips on running the game. Those are always helpful. Again, if you're new to role-playing and you pick this up by chance, I don't know who that would be, but they're probably pretty lucky because they're going to get an interesting lot of good stuff in this small. But we're only on page 90, and look how much stuff is in it. Here's advice from the great old ones. Absolutely awesome section. So it's got those authors, such as Michael Moorcock or Robert E. Howard. It says, he has learned the jargon while a corsair. Let the characters learn languages and even talents if it fits the narrative. Do not mistake the experience and advancement rules or any rules for the book of law. There is always a way, if the desire be coupled with courage. So it's great that they use quotes from those authors and to put it in perspective with role-playing. Genius. Always let the players follow through with their most crazed plans. Sometimes they will work. That's definitely for sure. Here is some rules for if you want to play this game by yourself, for some solo play. So that's very helpful for those people that like to do that. Bibliography there. Your favorite sword and sorcery book is a plot generator. Find a novel or short story you like. Open the book at random and stab at the page with your finger. Write down the first name or noun you come across. Flip to another random page and find a verb using the same method. Repeat the process for another noun or name. Is this sentence enough, or do you need something for the characters to do? You can look for an action verb or a word suggesting a goal. You can also ask yourself in the book questions like who, what, where, why, how, until you have enough ideas for a possible plot. Drop the characters in an interesting situation. Roll in the random tables in this book if you can't think of any. When questions arise, fill in the blanks using random tables or asking the players for details pertaining to their characters. So that's a very neat little section there. And here's the Dark Gods Oracle. It says the purpose of this procedure is to drive your character's story in unpredictable directions, to keep you on your toes. The Oracle brings danger, unexpected friendships, shocking treason. It isn't here to tell you if you can buy a sword in the city, but if you want to know if a secret society sells vampire-slaying swords, you might want to roll the die. So very useful stuff. There's some stuff about the cosmic usage die, friendly NPCs in combat. Here is an example of a world with a map. Here's some impossible creatures. This is a really great section. It says, it is well known fact that you will never have too many monsters. So here's a way to create 100 more. The monster is a hideous mix of, you roll it up, an ape or bear maybe, or maybe a snake or lizard, and a child, or a snail or slug. Even weird, it is made out of mother of pearl, or rusty gears and nails, or acidic flesh, and it's looking for shelter from the weather, golden gems, a carrion to drag back to its pups, or a player character's liver. So interesting way to come up with unique, crazy creatures in a very small section. And then here's strange planes, dimension hopping via sorcery, portals, and weird machines is a theme in a lot of the sword and sorcery Black Sword hack seeks to emulate. So where does the portal lead? Where do you, what did you need to get back? And then here's names by origin. You've got a whole bunch of different ones from different cultures, so that's going to be very useful. Cool piece of art there. Don't know if he's a good guy or bad. Some very good character sheets. Look how basic. It's kind of very basic, but then all of a sudden it's just got this nice sword in the middle. Obviously goes with the name Black Sword Hack. I like it a lot. It's actually perfect for what this game is. And then you've got some other smaller ones here to help you out as well. Your damage die, your doom die, and your hit points down there at the bottom. And then a glossary. And again, here's the sword. And then stuff on the back. If life is illusion, then I am no less an illusion. And being thus, the illusion is real to me. I live, I burn with life. I love, I slay, and am content. Robert E. Howard. From the Queen of the Black Coast. And here's the back here. I think I showed that before. So I will have a link down in the description if you want to pick up this game. Now, this is the Ultimate Chaos Edition, and you'll have to get it from the Merry Mushman website. There is a PDF. It's not of this exactly, but is of a different version of the Black Sword Hack. I'm not exactly sure if this version here is available in PDF. It could be on the Merry Mushman site, but I'll have a link down in the description if you want to go check it all out. Overall, I think this is a very cool book. I like how thin it is, but how much meat it has in it. I know I've said that in the beginning, but it definitely shows me that this is, I think, a perfect way to get into the Black Hack with some cool, darker type of rules when it comes to demons and packs and stuff like that. And is very simply laid out to you in a good-looking package. So there it is. I hope that you've enjoyed this video of the Black Sword Hack. Thanks for following my channel, and like, subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks.